And now it's time for another Dice Tower review with Mike Vincent.
Hello, Michael Vincent here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a little deck called Face the Hydra. This is from Theros, and is actually a Magic the Gathering solo or cooperative scenario. Yes, so you may have not even known that this exists. If you're a hardcore Magic player, perhaps you've heard of it, perhaps you've played it at a pre-release or game day. However, if you're not familiar with Magic the Gathering, believe it or not, there is a solo and co-op variant for those who maybe have a casual friend that they'd like to get into the game, or if you're looking to test one of your casual or thematic decks and give it a whirl. So let's crack open Face the Hydra, and I'll run you through what the cards look like, how the game works, and give you my final thoughts at the end. So let's jump in and take a look at Theros block, Face the Hydra. Okay, so here you see what you get when you buy the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Wizards of the Coast. And what you have is one encounter deck, and you're going to, in this game, try to defeat the Hydras. So depending on whether you're playing on easy, normal, or hard, you will start with 2 Hydra heads for easy, 3 Hydra heads for normal, or 4 Hydra heads on hard. Now, I'm going to have to balance this between people who are hardcore Magic the Gathering players and people who have perhaps never heard of Magic the Gathering or have heard of it but never played it. Normally, Magic the Gathering, you have 2 players, each with a 60-card deck. They each start with 20 life, and you're going to cast spells and summon creatures to attack each other and try and whittle their life total down to 0. Now, there's 5 different colors, but in this case, what you're doing is you are either taking one of your decks, or if you have a couple of friends, you're each going to play a deck, and you're going to play cooperatively to try and defeat the Hydra scenario. So there are things called hero cards, and let's take a look at those, because hero cards you can use specifically for this scenario. Okay, so if you are a Magic player and perhaps you went to one of the pre-releases, I happened to pick up 2 hero cards from the Born of the Gods pre-release, and I ended up with the Warmonger and the Tyrant. So these are 2 hero cards. You do not need hero cards to play this game, so if you don't have these, don't worry about it. But if you did happen to attend a pre-release and you do have hero cards, well, you can use them in this scenario. So you can have up to 2 hero cards for this scenario. The Warmonger is exile the Warmonger, and creatures you control get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. So it's a 1-time use. Or the Tyrant has exile the Tyrant, and creatures your opponent controls get -1/-1 until end of turn. So if you were wondering what these cards were for when you went to a pre-release, well, you can use them in this game, which is kind of cool, as these have just been sitting in my collection and I hadn't used them until now. So let's assume for the purposes of this video that I'm playing a mono red deck and I'm playing a burn deck. It is worth noting that you are supposed to play what are called standard legal decks against the Face the Hydra scenario. So what you probably want to do is go to the Magic the Gathering website, look up what sets are considered to be standard, and just make sure if you're a veteran you're going to know what standard is. But if you're new, you may want to either buy a challenge deck or an event deck or an intro pack that makes sure that it is standard legal, and those are the cards you're supposed to use in this case. So let's say I have 4 mana, I have a Flame Wreath Phoenix, and I have 2 Gutter Snipes. The basic Hydra heads have 0/3, which means they have 0 attack and 3 defense, or power and toughness. So what I could do is I could tap 3 mana, and I could play Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So I would do 3 damage, I could kill one of the Hydra heads, or I have, during my attack phase, I have 1 3/3 Flame Wreath Phoenix, or I have 2 2/2 Gutter Snipes. Now in this, normally in Magic the Gathering, you declare your attackers. If I wanted to attack with all of these, I would tap them, and it would be up to my opponent to choose how they end up blocking those creatures. However, with Face the Hydra, you are allowed to declare which creatures are attacking which Hydra heads. So I might declare my Flame Wreath Phoenix is a 3/3, and I'm going to target 1 Hydra head, and I'm going to have both my Gutter Snipes attack together for 4 power against a toughness of 3 and kill another Hydra head. So between my Lightning Strike, my 2 Gutter Snipes, and my Flame Wreath Phoenix, I would attack the Hydra deck and be able to take out 3 Hydra heads. Okay, so we've just established I was able to destroy 3 Hydra heads, and this is where the really cool, flavorful part of this game comes in. So every time you kill a Hydra head, first you get a hero's reward. When Hydra head leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. So I would get 2 life for killing that Hydra head, but every time you kill a Hydra head, you draw 2 cards off the encounter deck, and new heads have a possibility of growing back. So one, a Shrieking Titan head comes onto the battlefield, and a Ravenous Brute head. So even though I killed one head, fitting with the Hydra theme, that actually created two heads, and these heads are even worse. So this one, at the beginning of the Hydra's end step, each player discards a card, and this one is a 0-6, and this one is a 0-8. So these guys are much tougher than a 0-3. So I killed another head. I would gain 2 life and pull 2 cards. And what do you know? Another Hydra head and a sorcery, so we discard that. And I killed the third head. And again, I have to draw 2 cards. Oh, a Savage Vigor head. This is another Elite Hydra. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. That's bad news. And of course, another sorcery, so we don't have to worry about that. So the funny thing here is I went from killing 3 heads, and they were mostly able to regenerate, and now I have to deal with 5 heads. And that's where the real challenge of this game comes in. So you get to go first, and then on the Hydra's turn, they get to cast 1 card off the top of the deck. So you would flip over the card. In this case, it is a sorcery, and it reads, Unified Lunge deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. So there are 5 heads on the battlefield. That would mean it would do 5 damage directly to each player. So just like a regular game of Magic, you start with 20 life, and if the Hydra is able to get you down to 0, then you die. Now at the end step, for the Hydra turn, a regular head does 1 damage to each player, and an elite head does 2 damage to each player. So in addition to taking 5 damage from the Unified Lunge, I also have to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. So in 1 turn, the Hydra was able to do 13 damage to me, and I now somehow have to worry about killing all of these Hydra heads. Okay, so the Face the Hydra deck does come with 60 cards. I don't want to go through every single card individually, but I want to show you a few of them just so you get a sense for the flavor. So it is worth noting that there are creature heads. These are the standard Hydra heads. They are 0-3, and you get 2 life when you destroy them. But then there are elite creature heads. Elite creature heads, more dangerous, more powerful, and they will do 2 damage to you at the end of the turn versus 1 with a regular head. There's lots of different types, but this is a Ravenous Brute head. However, if you manage to kill it, when Ravenous Brute head leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life and draws a card. So you get rewards for killing the Hydra heads, but remember, whenever you kill a Hydra head, you have to discard 2 more cards, and any other Hydra heads you discard go into play. Now, there are also a lot of sorcery cards, and the luck of this is when you kill a Hydra head, you're really hoping to get 2 sorcery cards. These do not get played. But you're hoping that by not drawing any new heads, that means the Hydra does not regenerate and you're able to slowly whittle down each head. However, on the Hydra's turn, if you flip over the top card and it's a sorcery, you have to cast it. So, Hydra's Impenetrable Hide. Each head gains indestructible until the end of the Hydra's next turn, which means you won't be able to kill any heads on your turn. There is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. This is Torn Between Heads. Tap up to 2 heads. They don't untap during the Hydra's next untap step, but Torn Between Heads deals 5 damage to each player. And Unified Lunge. Unified Lunge deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. So the name of the game for the Hydra is a lot of direct damage, trying to whittle you down to 0. Now, it is worth noting that if you like to play control decks, if you're a Magic fan, and you have lots of exile cards, or you have cards that would return a target creature to your opponent's hand, that will also kill the Hydra. So anytime the Hydra leaves the battlefield, whether it's through exile or getting returned, that will destroy the Hydra. So you can play a good variety of different types of decks against the Hydra, the only exception being discards. You cannot force the Hydra to discard, so if you have a deck based around discarding, you probably want to try something else. So in terms of components, there's really not much here. It is sort of just a flimsy paper board. There's no nice cardboard version. And of course, you have regular, standard Magic the Gathering player cards. So they're the same quality you would get in any other Magic card deck. So this was really fun. It's cool because you have different difficulties. If you want to play it on easy, you have 2 heads to start, but up to 3 or 4. You win the game when you eliminate all of the heads and no new heads grow back, or you lose the game when you reach 0 life. So I had a lot of fun with this, and I do have some concluding thoughts. So there you have my brief overview of Face the Hydra, the Theros block Magic the Gathering Challenge deck. Now, do I recommend this? I think it really depends on what type of Magic player you are. If you love competition, if you are a hardcore Magic player and you have very competitive decks and you play in tournaments, is this going to be for you? Probably not. I would definitely say this is geared towards a more casual audience. I will admit that with the decks I played, I was basically able to smash this on every single level. Now, given that I was playing very powerful decks, I played a red-white battalion deck with a lot of rares and mythic rares, and it has done very well when I play against my friends. And I also played with mono black devotion, which if you follow Magic, you know that's one of the strongest decks in Standard right now. So I was playing very overpowered decks. That being said, if you are new to Magic, then I would recommend taking this for a spin. And if you're looking to get into Magic the Gathering, perhaps you don't own any cards, there's very cheap entry-level decks that you can buy, so you could pick up something like this and have a really good time. There are intro decks, there are dual decks, and dual decks come with 2 already pre-made decks that come with it, and there are event decks. All of these decks cost around $20, between $15 and $30, depending on what you get and where you get them. But for that price, the deck itself, you can find anywhere from between $10 and $20. I was able to find this at my local game store for $12. So for, $30, you can get an event deck, a challenge deck, and this deck, and have a pretty fun solo Magic the Gathering experience. Or if you get 2 decks, you can have a fun cooperative experience. So for me, I would put myself between a basic entry-level Magic player. I certainly don't compete, but I do have quite a few decks, and I do play sort of competitively with my friends, but I never go into tournaments, so I'm a moderate-level Magic player. For me, though, I thought this would be a fun way to get my wife to play Magic with me. My wife is not a big fan of playing Magic competitively, but she does love cooperative games. So if you're a hardcore Magic player and you have a friend or a wife or someone that you want to get into Magic, this is a really non-intimidating way to do that, because you can have them come in, you get to play together, you're working together, you can show them, you can help them use a deck that you've built, and you can have a really good time trying to do this. You probably want to run your casual decks or your thematic decks against this, as if you play anything too competitive, you will probably find it's too easy. Even when we played on hard, and for fun, we actually tried playing against 5 Hydra heads. We made our own impossible difficulty, and we still were able to beat it with the decks that I had. So it is worth mentioning that this can be really fun. If you're looking for a way to take your Magic the Gathering experience and make it cooperative, then it's really good. And if you're looking for maybe a cheap cooperative game, for $30 or $40, you could probably scrounge up the materials you need to play this. So these are a little hard to track down. I was able to find 2 or 3 in my hometown, which is pretty small. So I think if you check around at your local game shops and ask them about this, you should be able to pick it up or have them order it for you. So in conclusion, if you are a hardcore Magic the Gathering player, you play in tournaments, you have amazing decks, and you really like the competitive drive, you probably want to give this a pass. But if you're looking for a way to test some of your casual or thematic decks, or you're hoping to get a casual player to maybe play with you and play some cooperative Magic, then I think this is a really excellent option. There are 2 more challenge decks coming out, that are already out, one for Born of the Gods and one for Journey to Nyx. So I will also be taking a look at those as other Magic the Gathering cooperative experiences, so look for those in the coming weeks. Thanks very much for watching, and once again, that is Face the Hydra, Theros, Magic the Gathering. Have a good week.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.